Hi everyone, and welcome to what I hope will be another interesting deck profile. North American Nationals just wrapped up, and to the shock of absolutely nobody, BlackWarGreymon X dominated the event. I also ran a poll recently to see which BT11 deck profiles you guys wanted to see first, and the big edgelord won out there too, so obviously I had to get on a video right away. But I always like to take a creative approach to deck building, so I thought it would be fun to try a black-based version of the deck, and since there's a good chance a ban list is probably coming down the road, I built it with the most likely bans and limitations in mind. And that's how I ended up with this weird, kind of anti-meta take on BlackWarGreymon X. Starting off with the egg, Hopmon actually makes a bit more sense than the new Koromon because a lot of the bigger boss monsters now sit at the 13,000 DP threshold. So this, alongside your many black Tamers, allows you to clear those more threatening stacks with relative ease. For the rookies, the lineup starts with the few black Agumons that we actually have access to. The BT8 Agumon provides a search for a Greymon and Dragonkin, which nets a decent number of targets in the deck, and the old starter deck Agumon provides a cheap blocker that you can splash down in a pinch. And of course, Agumon X is there for some extra draw, extra search at times, and the inherited protection when combined with the X antibody option card. I chose to run Tapirmon because it's a target for Maki and it has a 1000 DP boost on all turns as long as you are a dual color Digimon, which almost all of our ultimates and megas are. And again, that extra DP is crucial in clearing protected stacks or just hitting over big boss monsters in general, and having the extra power on your opponent's turn as well is really nice. On to the champions, BT8 Greymon provides the useful blocker inheritable when there's a red Digimon in play, which, yeah, is pretty easy to meet in this deck. And BT2 Greymon provides jamming if you have the reboot skill as well. And this is actually pretty clutch because a lot of decks run Omnimon X as a top end now, and slamming into a 16,000 DP body in security can certainly ruin your day. BT11 Greymon X is here at 1 because I am almost certain that this card is getting limited. It pretty much makes all metal Greymons cost 2, which is just busted in terms of tempo, and it provides the same inherited protection as Agumon X, which is just a little too much to do in one card. And obviously you can X evolve over a Greymon for that draw as well, and to kind of get around the 3 Evo cost if you're trying to go over a rookie otherwise. Now, to substitute for the 3 Greymon X that the deck would theoretically be missing, I have elected to run 3 promo Deltamon instead. Deltamon provides a 2-cost reduction for any dual-color Digimon or Digimon with a composite trait, so it mostly serves to get you the cheap metal Greymons that, BT11 Greymon X would usually be netting you. It also has a nice inheritable that lets you blow up Digimon with 3000 DP or less for each color that the attacking Digimon has. It's slower than Greymon X and it lacks the protection, but it is a little bit more of an aggressive tool, and if you can only have one Greymon X, well, then yeah, it'll have to do. The ultimate lineup isn't anything too radically different from a regular BlackWarGreymon X deck. BT8 Metal Greymon is an absolute beast when you can digivolve into it for a reduced cost of 2, allowing you to de-digivolve something and then pop a 3000 DP or less body. It also gives you the inherited ability to swing into unsuspended stacks, which is marvelous for board control. BT11 Metal Greymon X provides protection against DP reduction and de-digivolution, which is important in the mirror match obviously, but it also gives you potent spot removal, blowing up a 6000 DP or less body if Metal Greymon or X antibody are in your sources. And its inheritable allows you to casually shred security on the opponent's turn when something unsuspends, which is an easy requirement to meet in this deck since the top end pretty much all has reboot. Metal Greymon Alteris mode is a fun tech I like to include since we'll obviously have less consistent access to Greymon X's protection. So this has an inheritable which lets you trash 2 sources of the same level to protect your Greymons and Omnimons from effects that delete, bounce, or spin. And it also provides some spot removal in a pinch if you have a Tamer in play, which you almost always will. And then there's a fun little tech that I splashed in here in Chimeramon. You'll almost never Jogress into this, but you don't have to. You'll remember that Deltamon reduces the cost of composites as well as dual-color Digimon, which means that you can also Digivolve into this guy for 2. The Chimeramon will let you hoover up a source from the trash, so it allows you to grab back a key skill that you might need, and it applies a wide DP debuff on the opponent's board, which helps in picking off small bodies and making big stacks a little easier to swing over. And now we arrive at the big boys. This is a BlackWarGreymon X deck, so don't be surprised to find the Supreme Edgelord here. Reboot, redirection, and removal all in one hard-to-kill body is, well, it's pretty good. And if you can stick this with an X antibody and either an Agumon X or Greymon X in the sources, well, your opponent is just in for a bad time. Now, honestly, if your opponent is not able to answer this, there is a good chance that they're going to lose the game, and obviously when you pair this guy with Hades Force, you can pretty much wipe the opponent's field and really kind of force them to concede right then and there. A BT-8 BlackWarGreymon is still a force to be reckoned with, allowing the destruction of small bodies or tamers on Digivolution, and it has the ability to restand once per turn when it deletes something. So hey, it's still a fearsome card, and thanks to all of the potent inheritables that the deck has access to, this thing can clear boards entirely on its own. A Gaiomon is here as well, mostly for offensive pressure, but also for attacking over enemy BlackWarGreymon X's. The Blitz keyword is obviously great for tempo, and the ability to reach upwards of 17,000 DP on the swing allows you to clear just about anything in the game currently. It can also de-digivolve something, which is nice since you have plenty of deletion inheritables, and you also get security attack +1 and reboot to boot, which lets you dish out damage and then make it hard for them to swing over your stack on their turn. And we'll top our megas off with BT-10 Omnimon X. The ability to spin a Digimon on Digivolution is fantastic, as is the ability to remove threats from the security stack. And since it is an Omnimon, it gets access to the protection of both the Greymon X line and Alterous mode, which makes it pretty damn hard to remove when it hits the board. The Tamer lineup here has changed quite a bit since I'm pretty sure Cool Boy is about to get hit to 1. I mean, let's be real for a second, the card is a little too good for a 2-drop, especially since it searches for potentially 2 targets, and it gives you a memory and a draw when you X evolve. X antibody decks are already pretty broken, and this just pushes them into the unfair category, allowing you to beat out other archetypes thanks to the added consistency and card advantage that it grants. Now, with Cool Boy potentially going to 1, Bandai, please, my substitution is going to be Maki. Like Cool Boy, she is a searcher on play, grabbing a dual-color black Digimon and a Tapirmon. She also allows you to reduce the Digivolution cost by 1 as long as you are Digivolving into a dual-color black Digimon, which obviously is not a problem from levels 5 and up. And being a black tamer is also important because she makes Hopmon live more consistently. And of course you have to run Yuya because it makes your Greymons buff and immune to options if you X-evolve, or put Alterous mode over BT-8 Metal Greymon. And it's a memory tamer, which I hear is pretty important. Finally, we've got the deck's option cards. So no surprise that this deck runs a healthy count of X antibody since it kind of enables your protection, and it lets you warp Digivolve on attack. And it acts as a mini Hammerspark in security, which is quite a bit to do in just one card. To be blunt, you need this, and with Cool Boy at 1, you should run at least 3 copies in order to see it consistently enough. Now, Hades Force is a card that I've been back and forth on for quite a while. And not so much with regards to inclusion in the list, because obviously you run this card if it's legal, but I'm more on the fence about whether or not this is going to get hit to 1. Now, I honestly think that it being tribal locked and a dual color card keeps it from being too broken, and with Cool Boy going to 1 anyways, you're less likely to have the cost reduction via having a Digimon with X antibody in the sources, which obviously makes it a little riskier to play the 7 cost option card. Granted, it's still an absolute beast of a card, and it does allow for some pretty oppressive plays, but maybe just stick with it at 2 because it is going to be a little harder to find those X antibodies and get the perfect game state to pull this off. And last but not least, I run 1 copy of Win Rate 60%. The deck plays plenty of Tamers, which obviously makes this live more often than not, and it is obviously here as a way to reduce Digivolution costs when we don't have access to Deltamon or Greymon X. Alongside Maki or Cool Boy, this can potentially let you go from champion to mega without passing the turn. Now that allows you to make some pretty spicy BlackWarGreymon plays, or just choke your opponent when you're going into either BlackWarGreymon X or Gaiomon. But either way, I think it's a fantastic flex spot, and it's been working in BlackWarGreymon decks before BT11, and I think it'll continue to prove its value long term. And there we go. That's my out there post-potential ban list take on BlackWarGreymon X. It runs surprisingly well, though I will readily admit that if Greymon X and Cool Boy do get banned or hit to 1, well, you're definitely not the best deck in the format anymore. I think at that point it does become a little too fair, honestly, but I think putting the red base, which is arguably better, aside, and with the restrictions, this is still more than capable of handling any other deck out there. Except for Grandis, but I mean, you know, it's Grandis. So hey, let me know what you guys think of the deck in the comments below, and if you have any spicy ban list predictions, I would love to know as well. I don't know how soon Bandai is going to drop the ban hammer, or if they're going to really surprise us, so if you got a really hot take, drop it down there as well. Also, just wanted to let you guys know that Sealed Only will be back this week, and I've got more BT11 deck profiles coming down the pipeline, so, you know, keep your eyes on your feeds. And with that, I will catch you all in the next one, and until then, take it easy.